Yeah, let's go to one registering, right? Last year, Kids Day, this time of year, quarterback play was looking pretty rough. You kind of said that was pretty indicative of how Cade and others have played. I guess where do you feel like Mark, how much further along do you feel like the passing game is? Is Mark where you want him to be? And then the other two guys, I assume, are Brown and Klinsky that you're seeing are getting most of the reps?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's those three guys plus Sullivan are like 1, 2, 3, 4. Jackson's been fighting an illness and kind of an unusual one. You think you've seen everything. You never have 27 years into it. First time he's got it's a hernia that's affected his appetite. It's just I feel really bad for him. I struggle to eat and struggling to hold his weight. So it's going to be a long road, but they're going to get it cleared up and all that type of thing. But it's going to take him out of the equation for a little bit. But no, it's been good, and I mean, to me, ever since Spencer got hurt out there in November 22, it's been a bumpy road. Nobody's fault, just the way it's been, and that's not the only spot. It's more than it's everything combined, quite frankly. But as I said last year at this time, my experience is if we have a good offensive line here, good quarterback play, we've got a chance. And I think the good news is I think we have a chance to have both those things. And beyond that, I think our supporting cast is a little bit better balanced than we're experiencing. It's been the receivers, good mix of old and young, kind of like our whole team, but they're a probably good illustration of that, and most importantly, they've been practicing pretty well. So, we're not there yet, but you're starting to see some signs. 2 nights ago, I saw some things that were really encouraging. It was Wednesday night, and then this morning, a couple plays where, hey, maybe we can make some tough plays on third down, those kinds of things. And it's just things that keep drives going, and that's how you score points, all those types of things. So we're not there yet, but at least I think we're moving in the right direction.
David Eichel, HawkeyeInsider.com. Kirk, I mean, how's Brian Allen been progressing since over the course of summer? And I guess where would you kind of assess where the defensive line is right now and the kind of depth that you kind of see them having?
The first guy you mentioned was
Brian Allen.
Yeah, Brian's doing well. He's like Mark. He couldn't do anything in spring, so he's working through that. It's one thing we're talking about this at all levels. A pro player who's played 10 years successfully, that type of thing, they can miss some time typically and come back and go. But even the best players, like if they don't practice, it's not the same. So you can imagine anything in college, and that's Mark and Brian too. Their challenge is not being out there in the spring. It does make a difference, just in terms of being working at it. His attitude's been great. He's been out there every day, fully healthy. So he's getting there. And I like the competition we're seeing on the defensive line. Unfortunately, Pitt's not working. Jeremiah still out. He's probably a couple weeks away from being back, but it's giving other guys an opportunity to work. Both Pace and Lockwood are doing a good job in there, and Will's done a good job. So Hubert. Those guys are competing. They're improving, and I think we'll be okay there. But we're not there yet.
Hey, Kirk, LA Club Hawkeye Insider 24/7 Sports. I know you already asked about Mark, but a lot of the conversation over the last few months has been that you've seen who he is as a person, but haven't been able to see him take live reps yet. What are your impressions so far of him specifically?
Well, you can ask him about his first day. He was 6 out of 9. That's the good news. I won't say how that 6 got broken down. I'll let him do that. But again, he made some throws like, oh, really? And but that again, as his first day, he hadn't thrown with the team. And the improvement from day 1 to day 9 is just not surprising, but it's just I think we're starting to see him in a comfort zone, operating the way he'd like to, and pulling the ball down. I mean, one thing I can tell you, I've seen him pull the ball down and run, which is not unusual for quarterbacks. Some can't do it, but he can run and keep his eyes down the field. That's a good trait, and he's demonstrated he can do that. He looks more comfortable with each day, and everybody around him is more comfortable. And he acts like a veteran guy, and that's something you can't hand to anybody who's that experience. So doing a good job there, and I think I mentioned in the Big Ten media deal, one thing we did get to see this summer, because he really couldn't do anything competitive in the spring, we did get to see him in great times. A lot of the stuff we do, some certain timings and certain moving things, 10 yards, jumping, shuttles, things like that. He's a sneakily good athlete. Like he really tested out very well in all the groups of all the guys in his group, his classification, if you will. So that's a good thing to have if you're a quarterback. The most important thing is can you pull the team together, lead them, staff to do so productively. He's coming along real well. And Hank is doing the same thing. You can tell Hank's been out there in the spring, so he's moving along pretty good too. And Jeremy's, bringing up the career there at that group. Scott, from left.
Scott Ogden with The Athletic. Kirk, your offensive line was one of the sneakier, good offensive lines in the country last year. He averaged almost 200 yards a game rushing, going to the country sacks down to 16 last year. But he lost a couple guys to the draft. And what is, right now, how do you feel about your offensive line? And where does the left tackle competition stand? Because you brought in the Division II All-American.
And I'll go backwards in order, just wide open, the tackle spot and the guard spot. And we're hoping to see good competition in August. You never know how it's going to go, but compared to April, to me, it's a much healthier competition. Seeing the guys grow, and that's one of the great things about college football is just the changes. And I'll give you a quick, deviate for 1 second, like this revenue share stuff. Scott Pilley was in here, I think, last week or this past week. You guys knew that, but one big difference between the NFL here, like in the NFL, you evaluate your team whenever your season ends, either in January or February, and that's pretty much how it is until you start the new season. In college, our guys change every period, in my opinion, at least. In the winter program, the spring ball, there's 2 evaluations, and you go through the summer, and it's not overly telling, but it tells you something. And then ultimately, is it going to carry over to the field in August when you're actually playing football, not training? But we're seeing these guys really grow, and it's kind of the way it's been in the past. Like our guys get better as they stay in the program and work if they're doing the right things. And I think we're seeing that with both, two main contestants, Trevor and Jack, and both those guys are way better than they were in December, and way better than they were in my opinion in April. They're not there yet, but they're there. And then Bryce is a newcomer, and talked about like the 2 quarterbacks getting out there, especially Jeremy not being here in the spring. Bryce wasn't either, so. He's a little slow off the ball, because he's thinking right now. He's trying his ass off, and he's got some good tools. So it's going to be a good, healthy competition, I think, and seeing some good things in the interior as well. Watching some guys grow there. So we're not there yet, but I think we have the opportunity to, fill 2 big holes with Connor and Mason Lee. Those are big losses for us. But yeah, right now I'm, semi-optimistic, but we're not there yet.